You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of KIEQ on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As you guys can see, we have a very special guest. He is the host of Chicago Bears Now, and that is Harrison Graham. How you doing, Harrison?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. And we were supposed to do this yesterday. I did not set a proper alarm, and we're back at it today. So that's on me, but excited to talk some Bears football with you.
It's all good. You know, I was kind of actually sitting on the platform and I was like, okay, is he going to come on? You know, is he just ghosting me? Maybe he didn't want to be on the channel after all, but it's all good. It's an honor. I told you before we started that, you know, you're one of the guys I looked up to before I started my own channel a couple of years ago. Obviously you are the GOAT of Chicago Bears content right now. So, you know, you're definitely, it's an honor to have you on.
I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm the GOAT of anything, just doing my best, and always like to see more content creators in the game. So excited to see you and your platform grow as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Harrison. You know, so first and foremost, obviously I sent you my new Chicago Bears hype song, Claws Up. You know, there's a lot of excitement going on around Caleb Williams. On a scale of 1 to 10, I know I'm going to put you on the spot right here, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate the song, the new Bears anthem that I created?
It was sick, man. It's got to be at least in the 8s. I really enjoyed it. Not sure how I missed it when you initially tagged me in it, but listened to it a couple times last night, and I'd say job well done. It was good stuff. Definitely got me fired up for the season. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was the whole goal with all the excitement around Caleb Williams, Rome, and the Chicago Bears in general. I was like, you know, the Chicago Bears fans need like a hype song when the Bears win or if anything good happens. You know, my brother-in-law kind of gave me the idea because he's a huge Kings fan, and he has this big Kings anthem called Light the Beam. And, you know, Kings fans, you know, really surrounded him around that song. I'm like, well, I was like, shit, the Bears fan base is way bigger than the Sacramento Kings fan base. So that's where I got the idea from.
Yeah, it's awesome. Light the Beam, by the way, one of the cooler things in the NBA, which, hey, Kings fans have been waiting a long time for something cool. So definitely enjoy that.
Yeah, you know, I'm really curious. You know, I really want to know from you firsthand here right on the podcast is how did you actually become a Chicago Bears fan?
So I grew up, I still live in Texas. Chat Sports is based in Dallas. So I wasn't a Bears fan growing up. I liked the Bears. Devin Hester has always been one of my favorite players ever. So I definitely enjoyed watching them. But when I started covering this team closer at Chat Sports, I kind of just grew into it. And ironically enough, I think when they drafted Justin Fields, I really was like, okay, I think I'm a fan of this team. And we all know what happened there, and nothing but the best for Justin. But I would say I've grown into it. I'm definitely a Bears fan now. Not everyone I work with is a fan of the team they cover, and I don't think you need to be, but I've just organically grown into it. I didn't really know if that would be the case when I started covering this team, but I'm definitely a fan now. I would never claim to be a lifelong fan because I respect people who have just been born into it, but I'm all in now and have been for a few years, and it's been a blast. And I think for the first time really since being deep into the fandom, we have a real opportunity here to have some excitement this season. So that's great.
Yeah, I told my listeners a couple of weeks ago that this is the most excited I've been about a Chicago Bears team, I think, since after the 2018 season, going into that 2019 season when the Bears team had a lot of expectations. Obviously, we know what happened there. But for the first time ever, it seems that, you know, led by general manager Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, the culture is set. You know, we have good pieces on the offense and defense side of the football. Things are looking up for the Chicago Bears right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Poles is a good place to start here. I don't see how anyone could really dismiss what this guy has done from the moment he took this job to now. Now, obviously, heading into year 3, it's about being a competitive and winning football team. But you think about some of the players that were playing a lot in that first season when he tore down this roster. Guys like Byron Pringle, Equinemius St. Brown, Al-Quadin Muhammad was brought in here to start. He was a disaster. Like, they just tore this thing down to the nuts and bolts and basically embraced that they're going to suck for 2 years. And last year they, you know, were close to being pretty good. They could have easily won 9 or 10 games. had they not blown a few of those games. But now entering year 3 with the roster turnover, Poles said the other day at the pre-training camp press conference that it's going to be hard to make this football team now. Like,
Right.
the roster battles in 2022 were among a bunch of guys that aren't in the league anymore or on practice squads. And now you're going to have guys that get cut from this team that are on other 53-man rosters. So it's exciting. They've got real star power now, but more importantly, they've got a lot of depth at a lot of key positions. Doesn't mean the roster's complete. Doesn't mean it's perfect. But if Caleb Williams is an upgrade at quarterback from Justin Fields, I don't see why playoffs shouldn't be the expectation this year.
You know, and I'm definitely agreeing with you. It's kind of crazy, like going to bed at night and waking up. It's like, man, we really have a guy like Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, right? Rome Odunze on one side of the football. And that's not even counting Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett and DeAndre Swift in the backfield, right? And it's funny that, you know, when we talk about Ryan Poles, when he first came in and you look at, you know, some of the strengths and weaknesses of this roster, the secondary was a weakness, right? And then he just really overhauled that group, and now they're calling themselves the Avengers, right? So it's like, it's one of those things that is one of the strengths of this football team right now.
Well, and it's, you know, Poles took some heat that first draft when he went defensive back.
Yeah.
And Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisk, and everybody's like, what are you doing? You need a receiver. You got to get Justin Fields help. And I don't disagree with that at the time, that, you know, they could have tried to help Justin more. They eventually did do that with DJ Moore, and they had pretty good rapport, but he couldn't get it going with anyone else, obviously. Right. But I think it was kind of hey, this is a multi-year deal. I'm not trying to Ryan Pace this 2022 season and sneak into the playoffs at 8-8. Like, he stuck to his big board and to his guns and was like, hey, we're not going to be good this year. So I'm just going to take players I like that I think can be here long term. And now entering year 3, Gordon and Brisker are core members of the secondary. Both could be eligible for extensions after this year. We'll see if they play up to that standard. Obviously, Velus Jones, that hasn't really worked out. But yeah, I mean, the secondary, I would argue, is the best position group on the team. I mean, wide receiver on paper could certainly push for it, but these guys have grown together. You upgrade from Eddie Jackson to Kevin Byard. Even if Byard is just solid, like not even peak level of himself, that's still an upgrade. So I think the back 7 of this defense with your linebackers as well is a pretty stout group.
Ryan, you talk about what Ryan Poles did to the roster. He stuck to his gun. It's all about getting young players in the draft, about development, really just trusting your coaching staff. We brought up the secondary, but then you bring up guys like Javon Dexter as well, a guy that can really be an X factor to make the Chicago Bears defensive line a whole lot better this season. How are you feeling about Javon Dexter going into this year?
Well, it sounds all positive from Hallis Hall. Now, I think we got to take it with a grain of salt until the pads come on, which will be Friday for the first time, get into a couple of these preseason games. But it's pretty clear that they're banking on this guy with the way they've operated with their defensive line. I mean, you look at that group right now, it's Montez Sweat, who's a very, very good player, and a bunch of unknowns. Andrew Billings, solid, but he's not a game-changing player. Right. DeMarcus Walker, good rotation piece. He's not a game-changing player. Javon Dexter at least has a chance to be a game-changing player. His physical profile at 6'5", 310 pounds, he got more lean this offseason and then kind of added muscle on top of that, it looks like, with the body transformation. He's got lofty goals. He was talking the other day about wanting his name up on the walls at Hallis Hall when he's retired. So, you know, wanting it's half the battle. I mentioned that on one of my shows the other day. The want to is there for this guy. It's, can he refine some of his technical skills? Can he fire off the snap better than he did last year? That was an issue coming out of Florida. Can his pad level improve? I think Eric Washington can help with some of those things, but he's got the physical makeup to be a really good player. Am I ready? Would I enter a season with him as hey, you need to be our second best defensive lineman? That feels a little rich, but that doesn't mean he's incapable of doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully Javon Dexter can take the next step. Obviously, he took this offseason super seriously, came back in really good shape. But like you mentioned, once the pads come on, we have a better indication on what year 2 will look like for Javon Dexter. Of course, we have some voids on the roster, maybe at the edge rusher position. You can even look maybe somewhere on the interior offensive line. If it were you, Harrison, if you were in GM Ryan Poles' shoes right now, what player would you want the Chicago Bears to add prior to the start of the season?
It's kind of thin at this point, man. Emmanuel Ogbah just signed back with Miami after Shaq Barrett retired. I don't really like any defensive tackles out there. Connor Williams, it sounds like, is wrapping up a deal with Seattle. So I think they're going to roll with Bates and Shelton at center. Ngakwe's still out there. It sounds like he's going to do an overnight visit with Carolina tonight. So if they sign him, Carl Lawson's out there. But I kind of get the sense they're going to roll with what they got for now. And they might monitor, roster cut down day between now and week 1 when teams trim their rosters. There could be a surprise cut out there. And they could have a similar approach to last year where, if they feel like they need to add a piece, then they'll trade someone before the NFL trade deadline. I would like to bring a vet in here, but they were speaking highly of Jake Martin the other day. He's kind of a career rotation guy. So Eric Washington calling him a 3-down defender, I take that with a grain of salt. But, it kind of feels like at this point, if you don't re-sign Yannick Ngakoue, you're probably just rolling with what you got and monitoring the waiver wire if there's a surprise cut out there.
And as a Bears fan, I'm totally fine with that because just Ryan Poles trusting in his coaching staff, right? And developing these guys the right way. Once again, I think you're kind of depending on some of those young guys on offense and defense to kind of take that next step, like guys like Tyler Scott, once again, Javon Dexter as well. But let's go ahead and move on and talk about, what everyone's been talking about, the number 1 overall pick in quarterback, Caleb Williams. Seems like he's having a really good start to training camp. What has impressed you the most about Caleb Williams so far, Harrison?
Yeah, I mean, look, it seems all positive so far. Now, that doesn't mean that the offense is dominating these practices, but I think what's encouraging is it sounds like it's really been back and forth between the offense and the defense. And I mean, how many of these training camps have we sat through of like defense wins the day again, defense wins the day again, defense wins the day again? It sounds like the defense is probably slightly ahead of the offense, but that's to be expected. This is going to be a really good defense. But the offense has more than held their own. One day they win the 2-minute drill. Next day, Caleb drives them down inside the 10. Defense stands tall and gets a kind of a red zone stop there. So it sounds positive. I like that you're seeing some downfield passing. Tyler Scott is making plays every day, it sounds like. If he can just be a guy that, runs 10, 8 to 12 go routes a game and maybe you hit on one of those, that's all you really need him to be. Just be a big play weapon. DJ and Keenan are building that chemistry with Caleb as well. So is Rome. So it seems all positive right now. Now the pads aren't on. This has kind of just been an extension of minicamp and OTAs. But what I really like so far is you're not seeing any of the big shot reporters, the Hogues, the Johns of the world, the Wiederers tweet after practice, oh boy, ugly day from the quarterback. You haven't gotten any of that yet. And that's a good sign. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I'm sure there will be a day where he throws a few interceptions. That's training camp. But 4 practices in, and it sounds like it's been pretty back and forth. That's a good sign to me.
And that's what gets Bears fans encouraged because, in the past, like with Justin Fields, even Mitch Trubisky, you would hear just straight domination with pads or without pads of just the defense just dominating the Chicago Bears offense. The fact that it's going back and forth, and usually when you think about when the pads are not on, that's usually an advantage for the defensive side of the ball, right? So the fact that it's going back and forth is pretty encouraging as a Bears fan in regard to Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're early in this process, right? I think it's all positive right now, but it's also kind of just that time of year. Like there's not a lot of teams out there that are having real negative thoughts unless you're the Jets or something like that with the Hassan Reddick situation, or maybe the Niners with Brandon Ayuk or Trent Williams not at practice. But yeah, I feel good about where things sit, and I'm excited to get the pads on Friday and to go from there and see what the next steps look like.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So with everything in place, they're going to continue to work. Obviously, we have the Hall of Fame game on August 1st against the Houston Texans. So as we go into the first game against the Tennessee Titans, what's your final record prediction for the Bears this season?
I did one when the schedule came out, and I'm going to do a final one before week 1, but I'll stick to my initial one for now. I think I had 11-6. I feel good about where this team is right now. If they're healthy and if Caleb is at least solid, like I'm not even going to go as far as how CJ Stroud played last year. If he's 85% of that, I think this team has a good enough roster to win 10 plus games. And I think the schedule, especially the first half of the year, is pretty manageable. I mean, you should beat Tennessee at home in week 1. Houston on the road week 2 is obviously going to be tough, but it's not like the Texans won 13 games last year.
Right.
I don't view that as an impossible opportunity. Colts the next week on the road, that's a tough one as well, but certainly manageable with a young quarterback. You got New England on the schedule, Carolina on the schedule. Like, you've got games going in where it's like, okay, you'd have to really screw up to lose these games. So, if they can get to that week 11 range spot, 6-4, 7-3, before that kind of tough gauntlet down the stretch, I like their chances to be a playoff team. So 10, 11 wins, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'll have a final one after the preseason and training camp plays out, but that's kind of where I think things sit for me at this point in time.
I love that. It's kind of funny that you bring up the Carolina Panthers. I actually just went to my cousin Shaq Thompson's football camp in Sacramento a couple of weeks ago, and he knows I'm a Bears fan. He was kind of chirping at me and said, hey, I'm back. Because I think the last time we played the Panthers last season, he was already out for the year. He's like, I'm back now. I want my revenge, blah, blah, blah. He's like, Bears this, Bears suck. We're going to shut Caleb Williams down. And I was just kind of going back and forth with him. I'm like, hey, are you going to stop Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, all the guys that we have? He's like, we'll have a plan. So I think it's funny. But yeah, I think the schedule is really favorable. I also have the Bears at like 9-11 wins. Obviously, things happen, injuries happen. But the thing I love about this, Harrison, is that Caleb Williams doesn't have to be Superman like he was at USC because of all the weapons, and even having a good defense as well is going to help him this season as well.
And that's what I like from the reports I've heard from camp is a lot of what you're seeing is, he's stepping up into the pocket, climbing the pocket. He's decisive. That's a word I've seen a lot. Like, just get the ball out and let your playmakers go. And if you don't like what you see, you got a couple of safety valves. Komet, you've got Everett. Right. Swift is a good receiving back. Like, it's probably unfair to Justin Fields for those who want to compare and contrast, but Caleb's got a lot more to work with than Justin had here. So take advantage of that. And Shane Waldron, it's up to him to put these guys in a position to succeed, which I think they will. Like, unless the offensive line really struggles, I mean, I think you're going to have, at minimum, a competent passing attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love seeing video clips from practice early of, Caleb Williams being able to look off one of the better coverage linebackers and Tremaine Edmonds and still throw a dart to DJ Moore. Those are the little things that are encouraging that sometimes you don't see from rookies early on. But it just seems like Caleb Williams is catching on really fast.
You can just tell he's comfortable, right? Like he believes in himself. He's confident. He processes the game well. I think, that's one thing I think Bears fans, regardless of how Caleb plays this year, good, bad, up and down, whatever, I think Bears fans by the middle of the season, if they're being objective, are going to acknowledge, okay, this guy is way more comfortable as an NFL passing quarterback than Justin ever was. And it's not a shot at Justin. It's just it never fully clicked for whatever reason in that regard, whether it's coaching, lack of talent, just him not getting there. I think Caleb has just a great feel for the game as a quarterback. Where's the pressure coming from? I think Dane Brugler used a phrase of he's got rare pocket awareness, yes, where he can just feel what things are happening as they happen, before they happen, where he needs to go. Does he need to climb the pocket? Does he need to spin out? Like, he's just a special talent, man. That doesn't mean he's going to be a great NFL quarterback, but it means he has the tools to be great if he can, A, be coached up properly, and B, be a good decision maker at the NFL level.
And the good news for Bears fans and hopefully the Chicago Bears organization, seems that Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles have a solid plan in place to at least hopefully make him comfortable as soon as year one. Are we talking about rookie records for Caleb Williams, do you think, this year, or is it kind of too far-fetched?
I don't think it's impossible. I think Luck threw for 4,300 and change. I mean, that'd be pretty lofty. But I don't think 4,000 yards is out of the realm of possibility, which of course would be a Bears record. It's never happened. Right. But if he's in the mid-high 3,000s passing, a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, I think we'd all sign up for 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 picks. I mean, would anybody not sign up for that based on what we've seen here over the last forever as Bears fans and consumers of this team? So I think he's going to be good. I don't know if he's going to be special right away, but I think he will at least be a middle of the pack starting quarterback this year. And if he's that, again, you're going to be in position to win a lot of games. And if you can close out some of the games you couldn't last year, you're probably a playoff team.
Fair assessment. You know, if he can reach those marks, even just beat some of the Bears rookie records, build the man a statue. That's what most Bears fans would say, right? That would get the city of Chicago hyped.
You could put Lovie Smith's statue next to it.
Exactly.
Davis Mills, he can get a little plaque somewhere as well.
Right. Who actually caught the 2-point conversion or that final touchdown as well? We can even go further.
I want to say Jordan Akins was involved in one of those plays, but yeah, it's, if this ends with Caleb Williams winning a Super Bowl, I mean, that play, just a complete fluke and accident, is going to be one of the biggest domino effects in NFL history.
It'll be a 30 for 30 on ESPN for sure down the road.
No doubt about it.
So, Harrison, I do want to give you the opportunity because you actually had a little career update that you announced the other day. You're actually creating a new YouTube channel called Four Verts, an NFL and college football show. So go ahead and tell the KIEQ on the Mic listener what's that about.
Yeah, first off, you mentioned off the top, I am the host of Chicago Bears Now here at Chat Sports. That's not changing. Our Bears content will continue and will probably increase. We'll probably do even more this season. But yeah, Four Verts, just an idea I kind of pitched to my bosses, and we went back and forth on some of the details and were able to work something out. And I love the NFL as a whole. I'm a huge college football junkie, and I just want to talk about more of the big storylines around those two leagues. Put out an episode earlier today on Four Verts about should the Cowboys give Dak Prescott $60+ million. That's been reported out there as a possibility. They haven't paid him yet, so give my thoughts on that. But, I just want my opinions out there and some more big stories. Want to talk about other teams here and there. So Bears Now is still my priority, but I'm excited to kind of branch out and cover two sporting leagues that I absolutely love.
Yeah, wishing you the best luck on that as well, Harrison. I'm pretty sure it's going to blow up. Bears fans, KIEQ on the Mic listeners, make sure you go check out that show as well, along with Bears Now, Chicago Bears Now as well. But Harrison, thank you so much for coming on KIEQ on the Mic. I really, really appreciate you. I know it's a long time coming. I'm pretty sure the Bears fans will enjoy this episode as well.
All right, man. Appreciate you for having me. Continued success for you, and let's do this down the road.
Great. Sounds good. Bear down to you, Harrison.
You've been listening to KIEQ on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.